Hello and welcome. Today we're going to go through some more subclass reviews. This time around we're going to go through the 3 from Humblewood Tales, which is the adorable tiny cute creatures setting, although obviously if you go through it, it can be pretty brutal because this is D&D. You can select these with the 2024 rules, but they are designed for the 2014 rules, and I'll go over some more terms and conditions as we go through. But let's get to it. So the 3 options this time are all magically inclined. We've got a Druid, a Warlock, and a Wizard who walk into a bar, and they all immediately fall over because there's no Cleric. Anyway, the Druid subclass here is the Circle of the Warden. Every Druid has a responsibility to the natural world, but those who join the Circle of the Warden Druid specialise in divination, abjuration, magic to foresee possible imbalances and correct them before they cause irreparable damage. To the Druids of this circle, people are much a part of the natural balance as plants and animals. As such, these Druids can be found providing succor to those affected by natural disasters, just as often as to flora and fauna. Many Druids have joined. The Tenders of the Scorched Grove are members of this circle, as its values align quite closely with the tenets of their order. The specifics of the Humblewood setting obviously mean that this fits in especially nicely there, but this is a subclass that can definitely work in any setting, as long as you have trees and land, which is most settings, I think. There's obviously going to be the odd one where that's not the case, but so any level 2 abilities or before level 2 abilities for any of these will be at level 3 if you are playing with the 2024 rules. Please keep that in mind going forwards. So the first ability that you get is Heartbeat of the Land. Starting when you choose to circle at 2nd level, you form a connection to the natural world around you, and you can sense when it's in danger. There we go. Throw a custom font. I got distracted. I have ADHD. You gain expertise in nature and insight. You get expertise in those straight away at 2nd or 3rd level, which is insight's huge. Nature's useful. Additionally, by spending 10 minutes communing with nature, you can glean the following information about the area within 3 miles of you, and you learn the direction of the nearest portal to an elemental plane. Bit Feywandery, which is not a bad thing. Reclamation allows us to siphon off harmful elemental energy. You can use this to lessen the elemental damage being done to your allies by shouldering some of it yourself. When a creature within 30 feet of you takes cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage, you can use a reaction to grant that creature resistance against the damage dealt. You take equal damage taken by that creature. Additionally, you may spend an action to reduce the area of natural or magical effects which deal persistent cold, fire, or lightning damage within 30 feet. You may remove up to a 20-foot cube from the area of such effects per use of the feature. However, for each 5-foot space of energy damage removed this way, you take 1d4 of the same type. If the effect is caused by a spell instead, you take 1d4 of damage per the spell's level for each 5-foot space removed. And if there are no damage dealing spaces remaining, the spell is dispelled. That's a really cool feature, especially if you know that your DM likes to use, giant fields that are on fire or anything. Akin to that, even things like Sleet Storm and things like that could be considered, although not all of the spells that have AoE effects are necessarily damage dealing, and per the words of this, you could argue that that would not be covered. Still, it's a pretty cool ability. At 6th level, we get Sympathetic Shield. You learn how to channel the energy of your beast shapes into manifestations of nature's protection. As an action, you can expend a wild shape to shield yourself or an ally within 30 feet of you in the protective armor of a beast spirit. Armor is translucent, doesn't block line of sight. The shield can take the shape of any beast you can transform into during your wild shape. You summon the spirit of your wild shape. The shielded creature gains 1d10 temp health for every 3 levels you possess, and a +1 bonus to its AC. The AC lasts until the temp health are expended or replaced by another ability that grants temp health. You cannot do the Armor of Agathis thing that you can do here with the temp health by just topping it up. At 14th level, this gets a boost, and the spirit can react, dealing 1d8 magical bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage. It can deal damage to multiple targets in a round, but only once per round for each target. I mean, that's fun. For me, this is like a perfect ability if you're pairing yourself with a barbarian, because then the temp health lasts longer most of the time, and they get more chances to retaliate with the spirit shield later on. Level 10, we get Aura of Calm. Starting at 10th level, your presence radiates an aura of soothing magic. Natural magic. When you or a friendly creature within 10 feet of you receives healing from a spell, the spell restores an additional number of hit points equal to half your druid level. Additionally, all plants that aren't creatures within this aura grow thick and plentiful and restore to their full vigor. Such plants also become safe to travelers while inside the aura, negating difficult terrain caused by plants, including magical effects such as entangle or spike growth. And you get advantage on saving throws made to resist those spells. Plants love us, fish love us, etc. And then at level 14, as an action, you can create a 30-foot radius, 20-foot tall cylinder of protective energy centered on you. The cylinder lasts for an hour and does not move from its original location. As long as you're on the material plane or an elemental plane, natural features within the cylinder, such as plants, Trees, rocks, and water, as well as wind, water, earth, or fire, if on an elemental plane, animate to defend you. If you are in a setting where there are no natural features, then plants, trees, rocks, and so on will sprout from the floor before animating. When you activate this, choose any number of creatures you are familiar with, and they can be immune to the effect. Creatures can't willingly enter the cylinder unless they succeed on a charisma saving throw against your spell save DC. The cylinder also protects the area against planar travel for the duration, preventing any creature from accessing the area by way of astral plane, ethereal plane, etc. Creatures have disadvantage on attack rolls against targets within the cylinder. Targets of your choice within the cylinder can't be charmed, frightened, or possessed by creatures inside or outside the cylinder. And when a creature enters the cylinder for its first time or starts its turn there, it takes 5d10 magical bludgeoning damage from the animated nature within. You can only do this once per long rest. I like the concept of this druid an awful lot. I also think it's innately built more for the 2014 power level than the 2024 power level, so I don't think it's quite strong enough. But then you get to be a 2024 druid with the 2024 subclass if you take that, so that's always good. It's very cool, and it's extraordinarily fitting if you're going for a really kind of archetypal druid vibe, like I speak for the trees kind of vibe. If you want to play the Lorax, this is perfect. It is odd that it doesn't get an extended spell list or anything though. That's kind of a shame. On to the polar opposite of that now, with a Warlock patron, the Predator. Your patron is a primal beast driven by a bloodthirsty need to hunt. These beings tempt creatures to give in to their based instincts and become apex predators. Ancient white dragons, demons with a bestial bent, and the amaranthine Kren have all been known to occasionally grant feral powers to those desperate enough to seek their aid. Many who strike a pact with a predator find themselves forever changed, bearing razor's teeth, wicked claws, or an aspect of their predatory patron. So expanded spell list, you get Hunter's Mark and Jump. Hunter's Mark is solid, Jump is Alter Self, and a new one called Ambush Prey. Ambush Prey is a 2nd level spell, casting time 1 action. It's an illusion spell, lasts for an hour. You channel primal predatory energies to perfectly conceal your presence in order to surprise your targets. You become invisible for the spell duration, granting advantage on all dexterity stealth checks to remain hidden. The invisibility will last for the duration of the spell, however, moving 5 feet or more from your position when you cast the spell will end the effect. As long as you remain invisible, the first attack you make against any target who is unaware of your presence deals an additional 1d6 of damage. I think that's a really cool spell. I also think it's a bit naff for Warlocks, because you get 2 spell slots, and using one of your spell slots in this is going to feel bad. You get Blink, Dominate Beast, Freedom of Movement, Contagion, and Mislead. Again, these are the 2014 versions, but you would have to choose the 2024 versions. Goodness, the compatibility is not as smooth as we would all like it to be, certainly in D&D Beyond. You also gain expertise with survival, and that's it. It just then explains what expertise is. Okay, so this is the good stuff. Form of the Beast at 1st or 3rd level, depending on the version. You can use a bonus action to transform for 10 minutes. You gain temp health equal to 2 times your Warlock level, up to a maximum of 20 temp health at 10th level. Why doesn't it go higher? You can have 40. I would rule that you can have 40 temp health at 20th level is 20th level. And these temp health points last until the end of transformation. You get advantage on stealth, perception, and wisdom checks, as long as you're making it to track or stalk your prey. You get stabby teeth and claws, which are natural weapons you can use to make unarmed strikes against creatures within 5 feet of you. List those as unarmed strikes, which means that you can benefit from monk items, which is always good. You have proficiency with these weapons and can use your charisma modifier for the attack and damage rolls made using these natural weapons. That's really cool. I don't know how you charmingly bite. Well, moving on. On a hit, your bite deals 1d6 piercing and your claws deal 1d4 slashing. If you already had a bite or claw attack, its damage increases by 1 step. Right, so if you already had a natural weapon, like talons, it would go from a d4 to a d6, so it can upgrade it. So if you've already got a bite, like you're a lizard folk, this improves the damage, which is fun. 5th level, you can now make 2 claw attacks using a bonus action after you've made a bite attack with your action. You can also take the dash or hide action as a bonus action while you're in this form. You can do this twice per long rest, and at 6th level, this lasts for an hour. instead of 10 minutes. I mean, that's really fun because it means you get to use it in roleplay, like actually hunting down specific creatures and things like that. Also at 6th level, you get Thrill of the Hunt. Once per turn, when you hit a creature with your bite attack, you can cause the damage to deal an extra 3d6 of necrotic damage. You regain a number of hit points equal to half the total damage dealt with that attack. That's a 4d6 of damage, you get 2d6 of healing, basically. That's not bad at all. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you score a critical hit with a bite or claw attack, or until you finish a short or long rest. And at 10th level, they get a boost of 5d6. Worth noting that there is a feat in the Val stuff, either the Gunslinger or the Player Pack, which lets you crit on a 19 or 20, irrelevant of the class, as it's a feat. You could theoretically take that and any other nonsense that you would like, maybe being an elf and giving yourself advantage on the attacks, and you could pretty reliably use this a lot. It's still once per turn, but you could do it every turn theoretically. Also at 10th level you get Fearsome Presence. You learn how to channel the presence of a frightful beast even when not transformed. You can use your action to cause each hostile creature within a 30-foot radius to make a wisdom save, or they become frightened, and they're restrained as well. So they're frightened for a minute and they become restrained until the end of your next fight. A frightened creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on itself on a success. Again, short or long rest. And then at level 14 you get Uncaged Beast. When an attacker that you can see hits you with an attack, you can use your reaction to transform into your form of the beast and then make one bite or claw attack at an enemy within 5 feet of you. Additionally, you can take a reaction when hit during this form to make a bite or claw attack against the creature. So that's pretty cool. I mean, it's a really sick concept, right? Really sick concept, because you can fully embody like Fenrir or some other ancient wolf or beast or whatever else that you want to embody. It's a really fun subclass. It puts you fully in melee, allows you to heal, you get temp health, you get all sorts of stuff. I would argue that this is a better melee choice than the UA Hexblade that we've seen at the very least. Along with that, we also get new invocations. These do not work with the 2024 rules with D&D Beyond, which is a great shame because they are cool. They're cool. Damn it, D&D Beyond. Feral Transformation lets you polymorph yourself into a wolf, spider, or octopus, but you get the wild shape rules, basically. You gain any additional proficiencies that the beast might have, and you can use the creature's bonuses if it's higher than yours psychologically. You can still speak, you can still cast spells that only have a verbal component. You get to stay in that form for an hour or till you drop till 0 hit points, at which point you revert back, and any excess damage over the 0 hit points you take the damage of. Hex Shredder is a Pact of the Blade feature. Your fingers grow into bestial claws, so just permanent, which would be boosted by the transformation. So if you take this, you would be doing a d8 instead of a d6. You may add your charisma modifier instead of your strength modifier to any attack and damage rolls made with those unarmed strikes. Your unarmed strike count as a packed weapon in addition to any melee weapons you have chosen, and as light weapons for the purpose of 2-weapon fighting. Do they have the Nick property, though? I'd give them the Nick property, I think, but I'm not your boss. Primal Summoner, which is a Pact of the Chain feature. You can summon even more monstrous familiars. You can summon a Blink Dog, Death Dog, Panther, or Warg. You can also spend a bonus action to command your familiar to take the attack action. The extra summon concepts there are really, really cool. The ability to use your bonus action to make it attack, I do think should just be in the base feature of the Pact of the Chain Warlock, at least once you hit like 5th level or something. And then the final one is a Pact of the Tome feature called Hunter's Grimoire. When you recover physical evidence from a creature, blood, strand of its hair, etc., you can offer it to your Book of Shadows in a special ritual that takes 10 minutes to perform. The ritual consumes the evidence as the name of the creature from which it came is inscribed upon the page in red ink. As long as you have the Book of Shadows with you, you have advantage on any intelligent checks made related to the creature. Additionally, you can spend a minute to learn one of the following facts about the creature. Creature type and alignment, any names or aliases it uses. Aliases. There we go. Its current distance and direction from you, providing it's on the same place of existence, vulnerabilities or flaws, whether or not it is wounded, whether or not it is suffering from a condition, curse, or similar effect, as well as the nature of that effect. You can only have one of these per at a time. One of these names at a time, basically. I mean, you can just spend a minute getting all of those. So if you spend 16 minutes on this, you not only do the ritual, but you also get all of the details. So that's pretty fun. I think the 4 invocations are all really, really good. I like the 3... the Hex Shredder, the Primal Summoner, and the Hunter's Grimoire especially. I like that the Warlock is this toolbox hyper-customizable class, but I also like when you can properly kind of focus on one aspect of it, and I think these 3 are all really, really good for that. Again, I do not believe they work with the 2024 rules, which makes me sad. Although it is possible you could add the old Eldritch invocations to your feat list and do it that way. I haven't tested it. I mean, if you've got the book, you can just use them anywhere, right? Not an issue. But yeah, if you're like me and you play via D&D Beyond, this unfortunately is not a huge help unless you're playing with the 2014 rules. Wizard is the wizard subclass is the Leyline magic one. Primal forces of nature have their own magical energy, one which can be harnessed by wizards with proper training. By drawing on this power, Leyline wizards can tap into primordial reservoirs of magic to gain access to new spells, empower their own spell casting, or disrupt opposing forces that attempt to take root in the domain. The most powerful wizards of this tradition can set new ley lines, transforming unnatural or inhospitable places into paradises with time. These wizards work closely with druids, and they can gradually heal environments that have been blighted or corrupted. The level 2 ability, level 3, again, if You know the deal. It has a lot of words, but the short and long of it is that you have spells which are always prepared, and you can choose what you're attuned to, basically. I say you can choose to attune yourself to a nearby Leyline, so I would argue that the DN can choose what kind of environment you're in, and then you could attune to that Leyline if you wanted to. But Arctic, Grease, Hold Person, Slow, Ice Storm, Cone of Cold. Coastal gets Thunderwave, Mirror Image, Cool Lightning, Control Water, Conjure Elemental. Desert gets Colour Spray, Blur, Daylight, Blight, and Seeming. Desert feels bad compared to the other two already. Forest gets Entangle, Bark Skin, Conjure Animals, Shape Plants, Tree Stride. Shape Plants is a new spell which basically lets you muck around with plants, and you can turn, if a plant can grow brambles, you can make it difficult terrain and stuff like that. It's really, really fun. The spell lasts for an hour, and the plant resumes its normal shape. If you can communicate with the plant, you can convince it to take on the new form, which is very funny. I mean, that's just entertaining. Grassland, you get Elevated Sight, Gust of Wind, Wind Wall, Freedom of Movement, Communicate with Nature. Elevated Sight is another new one. You basically get to yeet a center 120 feet up into the air, and you can see through it. You can also adjust the height, but it basically always follows you around, but you're blind while looking through it. Mountain get Fog, Cloud, Silence, Sleet Storm, Stone Skin, and Wall of Stone. Swamp gets Veil of Dusk, which is new, Spike Growth, Stinking Cloud, Giant Insect, and Insect Plague. Veil of Dusk gives a +1 bonus to an AC of a creature, and advantage on stealth checks for 10 minutes. Okay, you also get Thrum of the Land. You learn how to channel energy from the Leyline to supplement your spells, making them stronger, basically. When you're in the environment that matches your Leyline, so it's good if you attune to the local one. You gain a +2 bonus to attack rolls made with a spell, and a +1 bonus to the spell save DC, and you have advantage on Constitution saves made to maintain concentration on them. And you can concentrate on it for twice its normal duration. As of the 14th level, you can apply these benefits to a 6th level or higher when you cast it, as long as you are in an environment matches the Leyline to which you're attuned. Oh, so it doesn't have to be one of the ones from the spell list. That's a lot of fun. Extra damage on attack rolls and spell CC, and yeah, that's all good stuff. All very solid wizard stuff. I will say it makes me a little bit sad that there aren't any cantrips with the lists, but not bad at all. Level 6, you can, as long as you're attuned to a Leyline, whenever you use your Arcane Recovery feature to regain expended spell slots, you also regain health for each spell slot you recover. Additionally, when you complete a short rest in a natural setting, you can attune yourself to a different Leyline following the rules of your natural attunement feature. That's pretty cool. 10th level, you get Natural Disruption. You can channel energy from your Leyline to disrupt others' magic. You can cast a counterspell or dispel magic without expending a spell slot at the highest level of spell available to you. You can do this once per long rest. Crikey! I mean, automatic high level counterspell is very, very strong, especially if you're using the 2014 counterspell rules. My group actually does use the 2014 counterspell because we prefer the 2024 counterspell. I'm assuming there are others out there like us. We are not alone. And then the final feature is Leyline Weaving. By spending 1 hour in meditation, you can draw on the power of a distant Leyline to temporarily create a new one in your location. When you do this, you may choose any one terrain from the Leyline spells to attune yourself to that. The terrain of the Leyline does not need to match the terrain you are currently in, and your new Leyline affects a 1-mile radius area from the spot you meditated upon, which counts as the new terrain, leaving you attuned to the purposes of it for your Leyline abilities. It is hard for a Leyline to take root in unfamiliar spaces, so this only lasts for 24 hours, and you can only do it once per long rest. By using this ability to keep the same type of Leyline on the spot each day for a full year, you can cause the effect to become permanent. This will forever alter the natural landscape within the zone you created, and you can choose whether the environment with the zone matches your new Leyline or combines the features of its terrain with those naturally present. That's a really well designed feature, because half of it fully affects your day-to-day playing of the character, and half of it is this amazingly awesome flavor-filled ribbon feature where you can combine different environments together. Who doesn't love a little bit of terraforming? I think all in all that the 3 subclass options here are pretty solid. I think the Wizard and the Warlock are actually fairly strong. I think the Druid is a little bit lacking. I say there's a lot about Druids. Again, it might just be because I'm playing a Moon Druid. I think it really warps your perception of the whole thing. But I like them a lot. I think they are genuinely pretty wonderful. The Wizard especially is just great. And yeah, the idea of being a feral Warlock is appealing, I think, to a lot of people. Next time, I will be aiming to review either the Griffin's saddlebag stuff, there's a lot of those, or something else that's helpful. But if you enjoyed this, like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.